right. Hello, hello. I am Stephanie Wood, executive. Welcome to Rank Makers, and I'm so excited to have Jennifer McKinney here live, Silver Ambassador. Now, you're in Wisconsin still, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I'm trying to keep up with
I
that.
know it can be hard. It can be
Yes,
hard.
yes.
You
And you
too.
were
You're
just
all
here
over
in
the place.
Texas, right? Were you
What's
just
that?
here? Or you're going to be
Oh,
here?
yeah. I was in Texas a few weeks ago. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I saw you on one of the little flyers. So I was
Yep.
like, she's here. Awesome. Well, you guys, I am excited to have Jennifer today to talk to us. Always, we love her trainings. Always. She's such a great teacher because she was a teacher and she goes in and subs too. She gives her time because she can, which is so awesome. She is a mom of 5 and she's got some great tips. She's been here for, gosh, what, 8?
Oh, it's been over a decade
9?
now.
A decade now?
Mhm.
I guess it's been over a decade for me too. Shoot. Well, anyways, everybody grab your teams. We're going to get going so we can hear all that Jennifer has to share with us. Hello, Jessica. Hello, Audra, Terry, Colette, Tammy. All right, tag your teams. I'm going to get my notebook so I can take notes, and I hope y'all will too. But I'm just going to do a short introduction. We'll get started. Again, if you didn't hear me earlier, this is Jennifer McKinney, Silver Ambassador. And she's going to share some great nuggets with us just about how to stay consistent, what the things to kind of do to stay consistent, and how to stay motivated, and all those wonderful questions that we always ask. So, Jennifer, I'm going to mute myself and take it away, girl.
Okay. Thanks, Steph. Hey, everyone. Yeah. When Steph asked me to jump on here, she's like, what's on your heart? What could you share about? And I listed a couple different things. And then I was like, or I could kind of just talk about all of them. She's like, yes, let's do that. So we're actually going to go through, gosh, those of you who are paying attention and using a pen or pencil, you may uncover a hidden nugget secret within my talk this morning. But yeah, we're going to talk about just achieving your goals, right? And that's through consistency and hard work and lots of things. But I have some specific thoughts on my mind. And yeah, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. If you write these down, yeah, you may discover something at the end of my talk. So I'm so glad to have you guys here. Yes, I'm Jennifer McKinney. I currently live in Wisconsin. I do love to travel all over. I've been with Xyngular for over a decade. Silver Ambassador, I think I'm on my 5th or 6th million. It's crazy that it's even hard to keep track of at this point. And it's just been a huge, huge blessing. I'm down around 140 pounds from my highest, and I love Xyngular, but it certainly isn't always easy, right? Sticking with your goals and having success isn't necessarily exactly what I thought it would be in the beginning. So let me dive right in. And the first thing I want to share is about recalculating. Do you guys remember, especially in the early days of like driving directions, you know, when you plugged in that you wanted to go to your friend's house, and if you made a wrong turn, the lady's voice would come on, recalculating, right? And she'd have to get you back on track. Well, doesn't that happen with us, right? And so it's important to set goals with where you want to be so that you know where you're going. And you may be in a season where you have to recalculate that. I can remember for the longest time, I was going after ambassador, right? That was like my next goal. That was my next goal. That was my next goal. And it was just constantly, that was my goal. I didn't necessarily really recalculate things as I got closer or further, as things happened within my team or within the world. I just kind of was like, I'm always going for that. I'm always going for that. But it turned out that that wasn't necessarily really specific enough to really drive me towards that. So let me move on to my second point. First was recalculating. The second is to evaluate your goals. Okay. As you're going to recalculate in this crazy economy time that we're in, which is something that we're kind of constantly having to do. In education, as Steph mentioned, I was a teacher. We called it monitor and adjust. You come in with a great lesson plan, a great idea. You're throwing this task at the kids and they're losing it. They're not getting it. They're jumping on the tables that they don't seem to be understanding the geometry problem or whatever. I was an art teacher, so I never had to do that. But you monitor what's going on. And if it's not working, you adjust. So you're going to recalculate, but then evaluate your goals. And here's how you can evaluate your goals to make sure if you have a good goal, is to use the word SMART. I bet a lot of you have heard this. I'm not going to go into it a ton, but you've probably heard of SMART goals. Here are 5 ways to know if your goal is a good one. Is it specific? A goal has to be specific. It can't just be like, I'm going to get more successful. Okay, that's not specific. It has to be very, very specific, which melds into the M of SMART, which is measurable, right? Ambassador was measurable because it was 1 million points in a month. You can actually measure it. You know that you've arrived. I'm going to get smarter isn't the same goal as I want to get my degree in welding, right? You have to be kind of specific. And it has to be measurable. The A in SMART, to make sure as you're evaluating your goals that you have a good one, is it attainable? There became a point, this is embarrassing, but I'm sure a lot of you guys will relate, where ambassador was no longer an attainable goal for me in a certain season. Like, that's still where I was headed next, but I'd fallen so far back that it was no longer attainable. And so while that still was my next goal, it wasn't at that point really attainable, unless it was like from some, virgin birth kind of Jesus thing, which I'm sure he could do if he wanted, but truly it wasn't. So I had to really recalculate that, make sure it was specific, measurable, and attainable. The 4th is relevant. Okay, you can't just have a goal that's like, I would like to collect 40 yellow pillows. Well, I could probably do that because that's specific and it's measurable and it's attainable. But it's not relevant to my big picture of what I'm doing with Xyngular, right? Which is to create a legacy income for my kids, to be able to live the life that we want and help other people do the same thing, right? To help people achieve their physical and financial goals. That doesn't help me. So you also want to make sure that it's relevant to what you're really going for. And the T is time bound. It also has to have a specific, like, I am going to host 2 more city meetings by the end of October. Some things are time bound for us. We're going to get Founders Club sealed by the end of September, right? So some of those are already set. If they're not, you need to make it time bound. So we're going to recalculate if we've gotten off track or we need to with our goals, and then we're going to evaluate our goals to make sure they're SMART. The 3rd step, I guess we're talking about just achieving massive success, really. That's what we're talking about, is to leverage setbacks. Leverage setbacks. Setbacks happen. They do. They're not avoidable. In any relationship, any genre of life, any age, anything we go through, setbacks are inevitable. So since they're going to happen anyway, why don't we leverage them for our good? It's the difference when we talk about, economically, a handout versus a handout. Sometimes it's just a matter of how the person views it. People who are getting their student loans forgiven, they may end up using it to do good and to get ahead and to use that money now towards something to get them ahead. Or they may go and, buy something that they don't need, and they'll use it, and it won't help them. It's up to them, though. So the setback is there, or if you get help or you get some kind of blessing, it's up to you and how you use it. So that means that, let's say you lose a bunch of weight up front and then you gain it back. Well, that's a setback, right? So you could either let that set you back, or I love this cute little quote. Have you guys heard? Every setback can just be a set up for your comeback. Cal always says, who knew my biggest, what does she say? My test would become my testimony, right? And so you can actually turn your setbacks into something positive if you look at them as a springboard or a climbing into something else rather than a roadblock. So it's just up to your mentality. So much of your success in life, you guys, is just between your ears, what they say, in your brain, and how you look at something. Because a lot of other things are equal. Everyone has setbacks. So we're recalculating when necessary. We're evaluating our goals to make sure they're SMART. We're leveraging our setbacks. 4th is expect success. Expect abundance. This is the law of attraction. For anyone who listens to my team's, well, it's across the company now, really, 9 at 9 calls in the mornings. I know it's early for those of you who are still out west, but I talked recently about the law of attraction. What does that mean? It literally does mean that you attract that which you are. People are going to pick up what you lay down. When you become pregnant for the first time, suddenly you see pregnant women everywhere. It's not really because there's more of them. It's because you now can see them. So when you expect success, when you expect with, open arms that you're going to receive abundance, it's true. I don't think it's necessarily this sort of creepy, prosperity gospel thing that it can get a little too weird for me. I don't necessarily think it's magic, but it is true, because there is energy and there is an openness to us being ready and prepared to receive what God has for us. But we have to expect that. If you go and bummed like, nobody's going to like me at my new school. 2 of my kids just started a new school. Guess what's probably going to happen? No one's going to like them at their new school. If they go in expecting, and they were nervous, but expecting, I'm going to be a great friend. I'm going to be friendly to people. I'm going to make friends. I'm going to be accepted. That's what ended up happening, for their first week. So it has to do with your mentality. Next is when you're working your Xyngular business, striving for great success is never take things personally. And this is so hard, especially for women, because we're emotional, right? Like, it is difficult not to take things personally. We want to take the positives personally. Steph asks me to be on this call training, you guys. She says all these nice words about me. Suddenly I'm happy. I feel good. But what happens when she doesn't ask me to be on it? Or what happens when, for example, today I asked a guy who just finished his jump start, he lost 10 pounds, if he would post, and he basically said no, right? What happens then? It can be easy to then do the opposite and take it personally. But it isn't about us, first of all, almost never. They're really not even thinking about, it's really about them anyway, so we really shouldn't take it personally. And even if it really, really were, there's nothing much you can do about it. If you want success, you just have to carry on. The bad thing about taking things personally is it can cause you to slow down and not continue with sticking with something and having that continuity. Have you guys heard the expression? I love this one too. Marry the process, but divorce the results. And I will say that to new distributors or distributors who are kind of recalculating in their businesses. I will say, we're going to give this next push 90 days of whatever it says you would do, like finding more leaders, doing city meetings, sending out 20 messages a day, or even with your weight loss, we're going to cut out this, and we're going to take 2 Accelerate, and you're going to not do alcohol, and we're going to give it, certain time, which comes back to that smart time bound goals, right? But you're going to marry the process and divorce the results. What does that mean? That means that in 3 days, if you're not skinny yet, you don't give up. How many of you guys have done that? I mean, I've literally dieted all afternoon and then looked in the mirror expecting, like, I'm probably going to look. And I'm like, oh, look about the same as I did, right? Because I focus on the results. But if you marry the process, it's going to end up giving you the results. It will. But you have to be married to that and not to what are people going to think. Otherwise, you'll slow down if they say no, or even worse, it could prevent you from even doing something bold in the first place because you're too worried what people will think. I ask people to post, whether they say yes or no is up to them. I try not to take things personally. So recalculating was our first one. You guys are going to start figuring this out pretty soon. Evaluate your goals, right? Leverage setbacks for your benefit. Expect success. Never take things personally. And next is try again, right? What's the expression? That's old expression. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Yesterday I said to some girl at the football game, young girl at the concession stand, I said something about a watched pot never boils. And she looked at me like she had the blankest look on her face. I'm like, that was a really old school expression. She said she knew what it meant, but like, I'm pretty sure she didn't. So got to try to stay relevant here, but try again. When you want something, you stick with it. If you want to get back to executive, you just have to stick with it. And I know that sounds oversimplified, but one of my best friends, Nicole Ketting, who is a silver executive on my team, and she and I often will joke, and you may have even heard me talk about this on some of my calls. We'll say, what does our team need to hear? What should we talk about? What should we train about on 9 at 9, And we'll just be like, just work, just keep going at it, just keep trying. And like, that oversimplifies it, but at the same time, Steph and everyone, that really is, and hi Leslie, it's great to see some of your comments popping up. It really does come down to that. It's just sticking with it. How does a little kid learn to walk? They just have to keep trying. If they fall a couple times and then they sit and they never ever try again, they will never ever learn. You just have to keep trying. Now we're on to L. I'm sure you guys are starting to pick this up. We are actually spelling one of my all-time favorite words. I love to train this way because it keeps me on track, sort of theoretically, and kind of gives you guys, when the pastor's preaching on Sunday, you're like, okay, you know how much longer we've got to go if you're going to miss that football game or not. But we're cruising through this. We're now to learn from your mistakes, which is similar to leveraging setbacks, but this is a little different, to actually learn from things that you did wrong. If you drove to the state fair and you went the wrong direction last year and you ended up in a cornfield for 30 minutes and you had to make your way back. Then this year when you go to the state fair, which is the Minnesota State Fair right now, it's raining today though, so I don't think we're going to go over there, is you'll go a different way. So I don't know if this is true, but they say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So you have to learn when you do things wrong. And maybe you didn't know you were doing them wrong. Okay. I used to always, in the beginning days of my Xyngular journey, you guys, I would ask people, oh, are you open to being a distributor? Do you want to be a distributor? Do you want to share your results on your page? And I would use these things that weren't that inviting, actually, like, do you want to, are you open to, are you interested in? They say, Big Al Schreider is a big one. He talks about magic words, and he says psychologically those always shut people down. And so I've learned that didn't get me the good results. People hear distributor and they literally think of themselves like in an office, like distributing boxes, and then probably have like flow charts, and they probably have like Excel spreadsheets of who ordered what, and they just, it sounds too scary. That's why I love to use words like getting a referring bonus or things like that, or even I don't even use those words. I've learned from my mistakes early. Instead of saying things like that, I think I just lost my train of thought. I'll come back to it when I think of it. But to now learn, and I'll say things differently, like one that I just started using that is really working for me when someone finishes their 8-day jumpstart is, oh my goodness, that's great. You're down 5 pounds in 8 days or whatever. Hey, would you do me a big favor? Would you go pop this on your page and tag me? And I'll put a little image, I'm down 5 pounds in 8 days. And I'll say, when people want to know, I'll fill them in and stuff like that. And I'll get you the credit, and I'll put a little dollar sign. But yeah, would you do that? People actually like to do favors. That's where the if I, would you comes in. If I give you an idea, would you listen? If I sent you a link to check out about our new probiotic, would you check it out? It's like when they're tending to want to do something for you if you offer something to them, even if it's small. That goes kind of to creating value. This is the kind of side note, but with my project broadcast and even with my general prospect and customer and distributor reach outs and follow-ups, I don't always have it be like, hey, Steph, are you ready to get started? Hey, are you ready to get your team building in? Hey, are you ready to order? Sometimes it's back to school. When did your kids go back? How's it going for you? My kids just started this week. Creating value. It's, hey, here's a link to some, what I saw Casey Frost post this morning about, like, I'm looking for some recipes of things that I can cook in my new horse trailer thing that we're going to live in that doesn't involve, having to cook. And so is giving helpful, dropping value to people in a relationship and even in your messages. And it's not always about, asking for the follow-up. So back when I remembered where I was going, I'm going to bring it back to Big Al Schreider, magic words, learning from our mistakes, which is the step that we're on. I used to say, are you interested in, do you want to be a distributor? He has some great words. I did mention that if I would you, also, would it be okay if? I use that all the time. I use it in my regular life. I use it with the new athletic director. Hey, would it be okay if I gave you an idea of what I found worked really well to get attendance at varsity games? Hey, great job on your 8-day jumpstart. Would it be okay if I suggested which package I think would be next best for you? Hey, would it be okay if I sent you an invite to the get together we're having this Friday night about the Xyngular business? Okay, so would it be okay if is always better than are you interested in? Think about walking in the mall at those kiosks. If anyone even goes to malls, I don't know, you young people probably don't even know what they are. They're on their way out, but they'll have these kiosks, people trying to, I don't even know, sell screen protectors and makeup lotion and phones. Hey, are you interested? And it's just like, no, even before you even know what they're going to say, they could be giving away a phone and you're just like, no, because it's psychologically, but would it be okay if I told you I had a sample of this age-defying serum, would you just put it under your eyes and see what you think? I bought some. I did. I don't know. You can't really tell, but I did. It was so expensive, but it worked. And so those magic words, it's okay to learn from your mistakes or to learn from what didn't work before. It's a little bit like our first, which was recalculating, which is seeing what's happening in your classroom or your team or your customers or your prospects. And if it's not working, trying something different. Don't just keep doing the same things over and over. Now we are almost getting towards my last point, but not quite there. We are on energy is everything. I recently started to see a functional medicine doctor. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that. I really hadn't before. I've heard of like a naturopath. I'm totally fine with, Western medicine has its place. I also like more natural living. Of course, I'm into supplements, but we take some medication. So I like to just be very well educated about my decisions and take each situation and person as it comes and make the best decisions possible. But I just have a couple just weird little physical issues that I didn't want to doctor for really. So I started seeing this functional medicine doctor, and they deal more with the root of things. Whereas typically on a whole, a Western doctor might prescribe a medication for something, which has its place for sure. There's a medication I take for my kidneys, for example, that has really helped me not to create as many stones. A functional medicine doctor is going to look at the whole picture of the body. And I don't even mean just the body. I'll talk about this, why I'm bringing it up under my energy in a second, and really see the why of what's going on. Why do I make kidney stones? Why are certain things happening? Why do people have digestive issues? And getting to the core, fixing that rather than just the one symptom, the bigger picture. So my functional medicine doctor and I were talking, and we did some testing, some blood tests, some hormone tests, even where they test my hair to find out different things. And one of the categories that comes back, hi Don, is actually about energy. And this lady that I see and the lady who ran the test are both believers. And I just mentioned that because for me, like, this idea of energy maybe seems like counter Jesus or counter like spiritual with my personal beliefs, but they both are. And they even said, like, this is a little bit on the more like Eastern, maybe weird fringe thing for you to think about your energy, and even like chakra and things like that. And I don't know much about it, and they don't necessarily either, but they did say it is true that we are made up of energy. I mean, God created calories, our energy. When we are, that is the physical being of our physical bodies is made of energy. And so it's true that you can actually help heal yourself by different kinds of energy, right? And even when I say this, which my point here is energy is everything, I'm sort of meaning the energy that you give off and stuff like that, because I say people are going to pick up what you lay down, right? If you know about Xyngular and the business and you don't act excited about it, why would someone who doesn't really know if they're going to join yet want to join you if you don't seem that excited? They only know what you know, and if they want to be excited, but like, yeah, okay. I mean, you could try being a distributor. It's pretty hard. I love when people are like, yeah, I love the product, but they're kind of expensive. Like, don't even get me started on that. Expensive means it's not worth it. And expensive is always relative. And if you believe that, that's what everyone else is going to believe. So your energy is everything. But that also really goes into your physical side, right? Do you have to be at your peak optimal health to be able to help people? No, but it's going to be a great idea. I mean, look at Steph having maintained her weight loss and her health disposition over all of these years, right? And I didn't. I gained it back and had to fight for it again. And I see more than ever how taking care of our bodies on an energy level, that means getting good sleep, that means drinking our water, that means avoiding the things, for the most part, moderation is key, right, that we should be avoiding. Being a product of the products, that was always the words that I heard when I got started, and it's true now, right? To be able to give that off to people as we help our teams, our customers, and our potentials, that energy is everything, because people aren't necessarily buying us or product or joining our team. Sorry, the first part was wrong. They're not necessarily buying a product or wanting to join a team or whatever. They're buying us. That sounds kind of weird, but what that means is they see something that they want to be a part of, whether it be health or whether it be, family, that how you've built your team. That's what they see. That's what they're attracted to. That's more important than, hi, I'm selling these $30, pills, and there's this size and there's this ingredients. That's not going to be as important. Energy is everything. You guys have seen what we're spelling now, right? I'm not going to say it, but if you have the word and you figured it out that we're spelling, go ahead and put it on the screen. I'll see if you guys got it. Hopefully you're good at spelling and figuring things out. I've made it pretty easy. But we're down to the last two, and this one is say it until you believe it. You want to be successful, wildly successful, and have the Xyngular business and team that you've always dreamed of. You say it until you believe it. This is similar to being open to, yes, Tammy, yes, I knew you would know. You guys are getting it, right? Relentless. That the other Tammy got it too. That's one of my favorite words. And that's really what we're talking about. My son is calling me. They don't need, of course, even when they're teenagers. Now he's not even here, and he hasn't called me all morning. And now it's 11:24, and of course he's calling me now. So somehow they still know when we're on the phone. Say it until you believe it is similar to the expect the greatness, right? And expect, what did I say for expect? Expect success, right? But this is like where you actually say it. It's affirmations. When I was working to lose my weight this last time around, which now it's been a few years that I've kept it off, I would say to myself and look in the mirror, I am lean, I am healthy, I have a healthy body. I wouldn't try to say skinny because that like had a little of an unhealthy vibe, but whatever works for you, I would say I am lean and I am healthy. And I wasn't either of those things, but I said it until it became true. And I said it until I believed it. And if you don't think you can make it to director because you think you were close a couple years ago and you're never going to make it back that close, you're not going to. But you say it and you actually speak it. You can do this when you're working with prospects too. Hey, you know what? I know you're not ready to order right now, but when you do, you're going to just love it. I don't say if. I always, always, always say it in a way that I expect they're eventually going to get started. When you hit executive, when you become manager, when you go for your quick start, when I, whatever. Let me get this really quick. Hey, son, I'm actually on a Zoom training, but I'll call you back in a couple of minutes. Cullen is here and Maisie is at Gabby's. Okay, bye. What a good big brother. He's kind of sort of in charge of a couple of them, and I think he truly was worried. He was just like, I can't find Maisie and Cullen. And so anyway, he's like, sorry. He was just going to keep calling until I answered. So saying it until you believe it. Okay. Call your mom until she answers, right? And then he gets that. So then you stick to it, and eventually you get what you want. But truly saying positive things over yourself, saying what you want your goals to how you see them becoming a reality until you believe it. Because here's the thing. Did you guys know this? I'm sure you do, but let me remind you. This is true about the way our bodies are built. This is absolutely true. Our subconsciouses, no, just kidding. I think it's subconsciouses. They actually don't know what's true. They can't. They're not determiners of what's true. They only know what we tell it. And our behavior is driven by our subconscious. So follow me here. If our subconscious doesn't know if we're successful or not, it only knows what we tell it. That means even if we lie to it and say, damn it, you are so successful, your subconscious, okay, we're successful. And it's going to tend to have you act in a way that's going to make you successful. If you say, oh, I'm lazy and all I ever want to do is sit around and I'm never going to become anything, even if that's not true, your subconscious hears like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds about right. Let's go get a Snickers and head to the couch. And so it only knows what you tell it. Therefore, you can actually drive your body and your brain and your life toward different results by telling your subconscious things, even if you don't believe it yet, because your subconscious only knows what you tell it. It doesn't necessarily know if it's true or not. So you can make it believe something and then it will become true. It's true. It's really true. And the last S, and yes, we are spelling relentless, which is one of my favorite words because it just means absolutely going for something with everything I have and giving it gusto and not giving up and just having that fire in me. I love that word. Is another S, which is stick with it. Okay. The only people who end up not having great results with their Xyngular business or whatever it is they're working towards in life are the people who give up. The people who quit in this season because points are low and people aren't wanting to buy during this economy as much as they used to, and we have to totally reevaluate and recalculate and readdress how we, reach people, and they leave now. The people who stick with it are going to become wildly successful again, or for the first time, and people are going to regret leaving because the people who don't quit always have those results. And so I'm not saying that there's never a time to quit things. I'm not. I'm actually reading a book right now called Necessary Endings. And it's interesting. It talks about identifying when something is toxic or not healthy and making, endings of relationships or business dealings even. It's fascinating. But I am saying if you do know that you're in the right place and you do want something and it is healthy for you, then you stick with it. Last night, I went to the first varsity home football game of the season of the new school that two of my kids are going to. And our other school doesn't have a football team. So we've never even been to a high school football team ever, much less one where my kids go, and we went. It was cute because it was Hawaiian theme night. And when we got there, my kids were standing in the front with all their, new friends from the school. And one of these girls had on a Hawaiian shirt that looked just like one that Kieran has. Kieran's my oldest. And I don't know how long you guys have followed me, but we used to live in Hawaii for a while. And he used to have that. We actually got it in Hawaii. So I'm like, that's so funny that she would have the same one. Like, what brand was that? And then I looked around. I'm like, well, someone else has one. That one looks like Kieran's. Finally, I figured out, okay, Maisie probably said, oh, well, we used to live in Hawaii and my brothers have a lot of Hawaiian shirts. So if any of you need one, so she brought a backpack full of all her brother's shirts. I don't know if she asked them or not. And I was like, okay, those are my son's shirts. That makes a lot more sense. So we're there. But on the way there, I didn't get lost because I know where I'm going. But when I got to the new school, all the places that I knew to park, because where I'd parked during the week taking them and picking them up from sports, were full because it was Friday night football game. So, and we were playing the Catholic team from across town. So all those parents are there and there was no place to park, nothing in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, I guess people are parking on the street. I went up and down the street. The entire street on both sides in front of the high school was full. There's nothing. And if I didn't stick with it, right, it's something that would have been simple enough to do. Be like, okay, well, I'm just going to go home because I can't figure it out. Now, what parent in their right mind would do that? If you're going to a football game and you're going to watch your kids and you're going somewhere fun, you're going to figure it out. You're going to stick with it. So I stuck with it. I went around a corner. Then there was a bank, like the office of the bank. So it's evening, they're closed. So people were parking in that lot and walking. So I figured it out and I stuck with it. And then I walked, and which made it harder to deliver the cookies that I had bought for the kids because I had to walk again. But and I didn't have my Apple Watch on, so I didn't get credit. Like, am I really walking if nobody knows that my Apple Watch doesn't know? I have issues, guys. But what I'm saying is, we would never dream of not sticking with something like finding a parking space at our kids' sporting event. But yet sometimes we don't stick with other things because it gets a little bit hard. But if you really want something, you'll always find a way and you'll stick with it until you find a parking space. One more story. Yesterday, I was driving around with one of my girlfriends, and we were trying to go to this ice cream place, and we drove, and we drove from our restaurant to the place so that we didn't have to walk as far, even though it's only a few blocks. And there was such a long line at this place because it was just opening. We ended up having to park further away than we had been at the restaurant, so here we were trying to save time. And so, sometimes you should just stick with something in the first place, right? Rather than trying to take shortcuts. And hard work always pays off. Even in the middle of it, it doesn't always feel like it, but it will. And I hope this doesn't feel like a downer of a talk, you guys, because there's a lot of great things happening in our economy and in our friendships and in Xyngular's business. But it certainly is a unique season. And I just want to encourage you that with hard work and consistency and being relentless in these ways, I know that you guys can continue to have the massive success that you want. So Steph and all the other teams who are here, thanks so much for having me. And I will toss it back to you to close us out.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. You guys, relentless is my favorite word ever. And I honestly believe that is the differentiator of why some people are successful and why others are not. And for all the 10 reasons that you just gave, that was stellar, amazing. One question, because I know I need to get you off. Okay. But I think that this is like something that everybody wants to know is Dawn said, what do you do to pull yourself out of the funk that happens in this business? Personal development. Yeah. And what works for you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm glad you asked, actually. So there's lots of little funks and seasons, right? And one thing that I find doesn't work a lot, because I've tried this and I've tried to learn from my mistakes, is to just muscle through it, right? Just to try to fake it till I make it, just to try to just feel motivated again. It doesn't come necessarily automatically. What I have found for me, it actually aligns with our 8-day jumpstart. Let me give you an example. When your body is sluggish and you've kind of gotten off track, our company says, we believe you should use all these supplements for 8 days and change a bunch of things at once, which is hard to do, but just for a short period of time to really jumpstart things. That's why they don't just say, oh, just take one flush for 3 days. That's not going to be enough. They want you to change your energy. They want you to change what you drink. They want you to take the flush at night and take the action. They want you to take the global blends that you have. They want you to take accelerate, speed up your metabolism. They want you to take lean to replace. And then they want you to, not eat all of these sugary carbs. And you do a lot of it at once, which gives big results quickly and you feel more motivated. So I've actually found that doing the same thing in my emotional and business funks will also work. Instead of just being like, today I'm just going to send a couple more messages or whatever, I will do a bunch of things at once for a short period of time to get me motivated. And I will often, Dawn, incorporate it with something physical. So with my functional medicine doctor, I actually went through an 8-day jumpstart while eliminating a couple foods that we found out through my hair test I'm supposedly not supposed to have or as much of, and did that at the same time as having a totally new refresh. I just put up a couple posts yesterday, actually, of giving away a handful of 8-day jumpstarts. Truly, I'm happy to give them away, but to find a bunch of new people who are motivated, and I've had tons of comments from people that I'm now going to be able to follow up with and have a relationship with about their goals. And I'm doing a lot of it at once. And yep, exactly. Massive action. That's exactly it. And getting up on time and drinking my water and exercising. And it sounds like a lot. Wouldn't it be easier just to ease into things? But it doesn't work like that. A plane doesn't take off unless it goes full speed down the runway and then tilt it, and then you can kind of coast. So truly, when I get in a funk, I have to redo all of my thinking. I don't let myself drink for a week because that'll just make me sluggish. I don't go to bed too early, and I work on watching a podcast about the industry. I get connected with some of my close friends who are motivated with Xyngular, who are really grinding, and I let some of them rub off on me, right? I do it a lot of it for a short time until I get that feeling back. Then that feeling can continue to carry me into motivation. So that's how I would answer that.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. Well, I think you covered so much, and that last piece was just golden. Definitely golden. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us, always just being a light, always being such a great teacher, and doing what you do every day, 9 at 9. And you definitely led me into this, where I'm going to close this out, so you can either stay or you can go, or you can.
I'm definitely going to stay and listen to what you got to say.
Okay, awesome. Well, you guys, so Jennifer just led us into relentlessness. Okay, we need to be relentless. That's my favorite word. Again, it sets us apart from the people who don't push through and make it, especially in Xyngular. You have to be relentless. And, Dawn, you touched on what do you do? Don't muscle. Well, you touched on it. Don't muscle through it, but do align a lot of like the 8-day jumpstart. And so that leads me into this. The 8-day jumpstart, what does it do for you? When you do that physical piece of an 8-day jumpstart and you do it with accountability, what happens to you? It's magical. I mean, right? Let's remember what happens with someone that we talk to before they start their 8-day jumpstart. They are miserable. They have no hope. I mean, their life is like they are just in this space. And then after that 8-day, what happens? It's like magic every time. I mean, okay, like 1 out of 50 maybe is not going to have that magic happen, but we see it every single day, right? 10 years later, 11 years later, we're always amazed, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what's happened. Like that man that you had lose 10 pounds, Jennifer, like 8 days. So what I want everybody to do, I want to challenge you, because I'm learning from my team. You guys, they do amazing things every day. And something that Elsa Navarro, she is doing is inviting her. She has a thread for all of her customers. Now, she has a thread for her team that's working as well, but she has a thread with a thread, not a page, a thread in Facebook Messenger with all of her customers. And she's so great about going in there and motivating them. She doesn't overrun it. So like people like are dropping out like flies. Some people will drop out because there are those people regardless. But she has everybody sticking in there because what they are motivated by her, they're encouraged by her, they're inspired by her, they admire her, they love her heart, and she shows it to them weekly. But she's gone in there and said, okay, you guys, I need a jump start. I need accountability, and I want to do it with people. Who wants to do it with me? I'm doing it September 12th through the whatever, or it's a date like that. So she's very, like, again, immeasurable, right? She's giving an exact, attainable goal for people. She's giving them exactly what she's going to do, and she's saying, would you do this with me? And people are jumping in and saying, yes, I'm going to get some product, or I got some product so that I can do this with you. So I want to encourage you all, if you don't have a customer thread, make one. Number one. Number two, throw this out to them. Set a date. Doesn't have to be the same as Elsa's. It's not going to be in our team page, although you can do it in there if you want. But I think people respond to smaller groups of accountability, especially when they're like your frontline customers. So number one, just set a date and or get that customer chat going. Number two, set a date, and then use the verbiage that Jennifer just gave us. Would you do me a big favor? I need to reset so bad after the summer. I need accountability. If I do this on September 12th through the 19th or whatever, 20th, will you do this with me? Who will do this with me? and then get people getting in on an accountability group with you. So I want to challenge everybody to do that, and just think in your mind. And I don't care if it's just one person that says, yes, I'm going to do this with you. But what if you encouraged your team to do this? What if everybody did this into, and if you don't have anybody, fine, but everybody pretty much does have somebody. So start this customer thread, start the momentum, get it hot, because I honestly, Jennifer, what have we seen all these years? We have been here before. We've been in lows before, you guys. I am in an all-time low I haven't seen since, like, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. I mean, I haven't seen this low, and that's okay. I know with every low, just as fast as we can drop is just as fast as we can fly. So I want you guys to know that Jennifer and I have both seen this. We have both seen the bottom and wondered, oh my gosh, we've both seen economies, right? A down economy in 2005 or whatever, 4, whatever. We've all seen this. It's what we do with it. So mindset is everything. Accountability is key. And Jennifer, you nailed it. Relentless. So thank you so much, you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. And we'll see you back next week on Rank Makers at 9 o'clock Pacific time, 11 Central, which I love this time zone so much better. And Jennifer, you have to come here once I know people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for having me, Steph. And thank you guys for being relentless with coming on, your team's weekly training. I was super honored to be here, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Bye, you guys. See you next week. Have a great Saturday, great weekend. See you next week. Bye. Sorry. All excited.